explain to you why it's principally illegitimate in all cases to misinform sentient beings. We need to explain to you the people who are getting this information, the beings that are getting this information, might act on this information. At the point where they might act on this information, we are morally obliged to ensure that the information that they have is true. If it's not, we are failing to meet the moral obligation we have as people who are setting out to inform someone. And that's like a principal case about in all cases. Firstly, a whole load of bugs. One, to say that space exploration is exclusively about hope. You see, this is broadly asserted, right? You see that space exploration is about lots of things, including things like information, including finding out what that planet is made of and what shit's on that moon, right? That stuff is like scientific exploration about actually the science behind certain places. We don't see any reason why it's exclusively about, hope and like nice things, right? Secondly, in terms of this time lag that Beck talks about, so just recognise that exists on both sides of the house, right? The thing that is presented is the image of the world in 1977, whether it's the image of the world in a good way or the image of the world in a good and bad way, which is something I'll come on to later, which Dan is in a good and bad way, that's still something that is only true at that time. Things might change in the future on both sides of the house. Next thing, today that we have a right to determine what we do as humanity. This falls to the point where the people who determine what we are as humanity are not the majority of humanity. They're the absolute minority of humanity. Just recognise that humanity isn't homogenous, right? Humanity has a series of different groups who face a series of different problems. Every single example that we get of the things that happen within those that are presented within Voyager are the most privileged groups within these sections of society, or sections of society are completely ignored, right? That is not a representation of humanity. It's a representation of about 1% of humanity. So when I asked Beck that POI, and I asked her what proportion of society, what proportion of humanity is actually experiencing things that we're presenting to them, it's not 50%. It's nowhere near 50%. Because it's actually a westernised and privileged version of the world which barely anyone has access to. For the very reason that elites try to keep these kinds of things within themselves, for the very reason that you need a hell of a lot of money to be able to make Voyager, for the very reason that you need a lot of investment to make Voyager, that is not a presentation of the world, it is a lie. Very, very important later. It's not just selective choosing, it is disproportionate representation of something that is just not true. If all of humanity could say that it could dictate the way in which we present the world, it would be very, very, very different to what is presented in Voyager. So that doesn't stand. This idea about that aliens might attack us, we should and that we can communicate with them later, just misunderstand what Voyager is, right? Voyager uses the fact that space is a vacuum, so there's no friction, to mean that that thing can just move through space. We can give it the propulsion it needs, and it just keeps moving. There's no fuel on this thing. There's no means for us to communicate. So if we could communicate as far out as Voyager goes, then actually we would just communicate, right? Rather than sending out a little space shuttle thing that's flying through space with all that information. We would just say the things rather than needing to come up with like a clever way of trying to send that information out. We think that that's not something that actually works. We also just recognise, thank you, this idea that this is an image that we strive for fails to recognise that actually we are able to present the thing that we want as well as presenting the negative sides, right? The motion is not that we present an exclusively negative representation, so that we also present a negative representation. It means that we can have what we strive for, we can say this is what we want, but additionally we can say, and this is where we have failed, these are the ways in which we are awful, we don't want to do this, we don't think it's going to be inconsistent, that it's necessarily inconsistent with the things that we're doing. A couple more things, right? This idea that acts as a constant reminder of the bad things that we did, right? We just think that's fine, probably a good thing to act as a constant reminder to this. And the opening explains to you why it's the case. The fact that we did bad things is something that is relevant in terms of our ability to do good things. Recognition that we do that is not necessarily bad or illegitimate. Okay, thank you. So, principal case, right? Recognise that the people or the beings that are likely to experience this that are actually relevant in the context of this debate are beings which are able to understand it, or able to act on it, right? The problem is they don't understand it, it's not relevant to the debate at all, because they don't understand the things that are on this piece of metal, right? So that means that they are sentient, it means that they are able to make moral choices. That means they are moral actors in the same way that humanity are moral actors. It means we need to afford them the very same rights that we afford humanity. Because there is no principled philosophical reason why they are any different to us in terms of their entitlement to rights, in terms of their entitlement to autonomy. The autonomy is incredibly important. And at a point where you go out to inform people, you're morally obliged to provide the best information possible, because that provides autonomy. That's what I'm going to explain in my extension. Thank you. So what we say is that just recognise that within your life and within your existence, your life is shaped by your experiences. Your life is shaped by the things that happen to you, right? In an ideal world, you would be able to fully understand the things that happen to you and fully understand every consequence of your action. And at the point where you go out to inform someone, you take on a moral obligation. So this is misinformation, the exact reason I talk about. It's not just selective. It's not just not giving all the information. that it's giving an incorrect and disproportionate representation of something that is just not true. That this is principally illegitimate, because it means that those aliens, at the point where they might make a decision based on their understanding of the Earth in 1977, we are obliged to give them something that means that they can have the greatest extent of autonomy possible within that decision, right? That decision needs to be made based on the information they have. That decision needs to be made based on understanding the consequences of their actions in terms of the stuff that they do based on the information. What that means is, in order for us to afford the liberty, in order for us to afford the autonomy that we afford to sentient beings all the time, we're obliged to afford sentient beings all the time, we have to give them accurate information. We have to give them information that allows them to model the outcomes of their choices. Just recognize that this is a philosophical case, right? I'm not saying they're going to make loads of decisions based on this. I'm saying at the point where it's a possibility that they might make a decision based on this, we take on a moral obligation as an informer.
There is one thing that we can be pretty sure aliens can understand just as we, as long as they are biological beings, and that is death, the end of life. Sending them something that shows people dying is a life to be interpreted as a threat, no matter what other things they can understand.
So if it's likely to be interpreted as a threat, and humans are capable of causing death, then we're obliged to actually tell them that we do cause that death, because they're just as important as us. I don't care if it's a threat to us, because it's also a threat to them if we don't give them that information. If they don't know that we might kill them, and then they act based on the misinformation that we provide, we have failed to meet our moral obligation. We still haven't had any explanation as to why humanity is more important than these other sentient beings, right? That's the problem with the entire case, and that's what they failed to respond to. So what do we say on our side of the house? We say Voyager is an attempt to inform. To the point where something is an attempt to inform, you're informing someone who has no other source of information for that very thing. So that creates a moral obligation to provide something that is accurate and true. We explain to you why the presentation from within Voyager is not accurate, it's untrue, and that denies the autonomy, that denies the ability of individuals to make informed choices. To the point where individuals can't make informed choices, those individuals can't create a life for themselves. Those individuals can't have an understanding of the outcomes of their actions to a far lesser extent. That's fundamentally important. That's why we're failing to meet a moral obligation. That's why we're incredibly proud to do this.